I hope that flood in the pantry last episode didn't ruin what's left of our backlog.
They're sealed cans, it shouldn't matter.
Remember the land salmon? I'm never picking a can manufacturer from the Gravity Falls Gossiper Classifieds again.
You can tell a can's still sealed if it sounds dull. This one's good.
Thank goodness for small miracles. By the way, what are we going to do with this room once we're done?
Probably fill it right back up for season 2.
And after that?
Well, there is that Phineas and Ferb revival coming out.
Isn't there a Trolls TV show?
I doubt that'll be available anywhere by the time we're done.
Then what do we put in the pantry?
God. Did the pod god just implant the same message into your brain?
Wait. Is this a recipe for focaccia?
Open the can, I'll go mince some garlic.
Welcome to the Great Gravity Falls Bake-Off, I suppose.
Welcome to Mystery Shack Look Back, a nostalgic time capsule and no-spoiler book club of the original Gravity Falls fandom. We are your curators. I'm Ella.
And I'm Charlie. Wait, you're not my co-curator.
You're not my co-curator. You look nothing like Charlie. Where are they?
This isn't even my house.
Why am I under a blanket? Whose room is this?
I don't know. It doesn't look anything like yours. And why am I sitting in front of a TV? I don't have this.
Wait, Anka, AJ, is this Into the Falls?
We're Into the Falls?
Wait, but if we're here, where are Mary and AJ?
Alright, I'm recording.
So am I.
AJ, if you had to... wait.
You good?
Why is my hair so short?
Hold on, I don't have the video up.
Charlie?
Ella?
Shelby!
Is Shelby a guest on this one?
Where's AJ?
I've been on the call this whole time. Hold up. Why is there an ocean outside my window?
Are you guys feeling okay?
Gonna level with you, Shelby. I think AJ and I have switched bodies with your co-curators.
Oh, that would explain the docent vibes you're giving off.
What vibes am I giving off?
None.
I guess that tracks.
Fine, I'll switch you back.
Yes, definitely. Do whatever you need to do to switch us back. Is that gonna hurt? That looks like you're building a lot of static charge up there. That's gonna be painful, yeah.
Welcome to Into the Falls, a Gravity Falls podcast. I'm Mary, and I know lots of things.
I'm AJ, and I know nothing.
This is a podcast where I guide AJ through the wonderful weirdness of Gravity Falls, my favorite show that he has never seen.
If you're a new arrival like me, or looking to relive some crazy summer memories, come with us, and let's dive into the falls.
Oh, gee, AJ, I can't say I enjoyed the experience, but I'm kind of glad we switched bodies with Charlie and Ella of Mystery Shack Look Back.
Yeah, it was a fascinating experience to say the least, but now I can really understand the work that goes into making a podcast like theirs, and frankly, I think they're underappreciated.
I'm sorry you got the Gompers the Goat thing spoiled for you because of all the weird decor in Charlie's room.
Well, I suppose there's really no harm, no foul in that.
And we have a new appreciation for them as people.
Charlie is very fashionable with the room decor.
They pick a theme and they stick with it. So there's Baby Nosferatu in the intro. And I just realized that's a character in the SpongeBob prequel that's on Paramount Plus. He's named Kid Feratu, and he's a child version of the version of Nosferatu that exists in the SpongeBob universe.
Nosferatu is a thing in SpongeBob?
Oh, I forgot you don't know SpongeBob references. Yeah, there was like...
Don't act surprised. Don't act surprised that I don't know that reference.
Oh, I wasn't acting. I legitimately forgot. But there's an episode called Graveyard Shift where they're working at night, and Squidward tells SpongeBob the story of the hash-slinging slasher who's like a Cropsy type villain in folklore. Like, the lights are flickering and all this mysterious stuff is happening. And then it turns out the hash-slinging slasher is just a guy trying to apply for a job. And they're like, but if that was you, then who was flickering the lights? And they turn and Nosferatu is standing there. It's a photo of Nosferatu just flicking the lights on and off. And they all go, Nosferatu!
You know what? There's no better point to end on.
Waddles is in a hat at the beginning of this episode.
There's not a lot that stuck out to me the very beginning of this episode besides sleepover. I feel like that kind of overwhelmed everything else.
I don't know how familiar you are with girls' sleepovers. If my memory of middle school serves correctly, they were exactly like this. And the line that has always stuck out to me is Mabel saying,
"We are so crazy tonight!"
because that was me at every single sleepover I ever attended. I'm like, whoa, guys, things are getting wild. And it was just because, like, one of us raised our voice for a second.
You know, the candy bowl is half eaten and somebody's down to soda in like 3 seconds. That's a wild party in middle school.
Glitter on the pizza, a staple.
Total rager right there.
They said on the episode commentary that the girls waking up in the morning after their sleepover where they're all like taped to the wall and Grenda's coming out of the closet saying, I don't know what I was kissing in there, but I have no regrets.
What happened last night? Whoa!
What's up, potty girl?
I don't know what I was kissing in there, but I have no regrets.
That got them in a lot of trouble with S&P because they kept saying, like, why are they like all out of it? And Alex Hirsch is like, well, because they were up all night eating glitter pizza and screaming their heads off. And it's like, what was Grenda kissing in that closet? She's a 12-year-old girl. I love Grenda's pajama shirt that just says
she came
bear.
out of that closet. Kids are going to piece that together.
We can't let there be gay.
The police officers are already pushing it with their very close friendship.
With you, every day is a dream.
Reading each other's horoscopes. We should read each other's horoscopes right now. What sign are you?
I am a Gemini.
I'm clicking the first thing that came up, which is horoscope.com. September 13th, 2022. Have you been thinking about relocating, Gemini? The siren song of distant states or exotic lands may play constantly in your ears. Foreign cultures could inspire you artistically, spiritually, and personally. This is actually a time when few things are out of your reach. If you're serious about this, look into it. You can decide once you have all the facts.
That is strangely relevant to what I've been thinking about on occasion lately. Deciding whether or not I need to move in order to find an affordable house. All right, I'm going to go to horoscopes.com and I want to read yours.
I'm an Aquarius.
New beginnings and promising new opportunities may appear from a distant state or foreign country, Aquarius. Your adventurous side is excited and enthusiastic, but the side of you that wants to stay settled could put up some resistance. Don't feel you have to jump into anything. Get all the facts and assess the situation objectively. Think seriously about it all. What do you most want?
That's kind of accurate. I feel like we both kind of had the same horoscope. They're both just kind of like, hey, do you want to move, but also maybe not? Get the facts and then make a decision.
A very conservative horoscope that we were just given, both of us.
They have to be. They can't be like, you should go commit a murder, because then they're implicated. My next note is Waddles in a blanket.
Because he's a pig in a blanket.
He does all kinds of cute stuff in this episode, but granted, he doesn't look cute for all of it because some of it, he's just Seuss.
When I looked at the description for this episode on Disney Plus, it was like Dipper and Mabel discover a secret new room in the Mystery Shack. At first I was like, finally, they're going to address the vending machine. No, it's a different secret room in the Mystery Shack.
Waddles in Seuss's body got pretty close to the secret of the vending machine, by which I mean he was physically close to the vending machine.
Nothing really happened with that. Seuss, pig, Waddles, Seuss, Soodles, Wadoos just kind of lumbered around
Soodles.
the Mystery Shack. Just kind of... Woodles?
No, Soodles.
Soodles. Do you think Seuss was happier as a pig?
I think it's a lot like our little adventure we just had with Charlie and Ella. He gained a new appreciation for pigs and he had fun on his little escapade, but I think he'd rather be in his own body long term.
I also love how McGucket came out of the alley saying his own name, as if we wouldn't know who he is unless he explicitly stated who he was.
Well, that's not for our benefit. He just does that. It's best not to worry about it.
That carpet, the minute I laid my eyes on it, I was like, okay, this is going to play a part in the episode. This is the supernatural thing.
We just gotta talk about the entire room that they find, because I was just looking for visual details when I was watching this, and that room has such a weird assortment of furniture. There's like a couch bed and a chair in the corner, and it has its own bathroom, and there's like a fireplace that's boarded up so it's like not functional anymore, and there's like a shelf with a prism on it, and I think like some books or framed pictures or something. There's a calendar open to July 1982, and July 4th is circled. There's like a cabinet across the room with like a tray on it that looks like what you would find when you check into a hotel room. It looks like an ice bucket, some vases, and then outside there's just a light bulb sticking out of the wall, like it's a recording studio.
Yeah, that's so weird.
There was like a lamp on top of a clock.
Stan establishes that he didn't even know this room was in here, so it's like, who even had the Mystery Shack before, and how long has Stan had it to not know that this room was in here?
Well, whoever it was very patriotic because July 4th is circled with big red ink. We don't know why.
Yeah, the day is clearly an important one for whoever previously owned the Mystery Shack.
But they left their glasses. How are they gonna see?
And they probably got new ones.
That was probably just like their spare, like their backup pair, their prescription changed, and that's just there in case something happens to their new ones. There's like a giant trifold mirror against the wall.
It's a wild room with an incredibly intricate and ornate door that's completely out of place, I think, for the rest of the Mystery Shack inside. The rest of it seems very basic.
It's a very weird area of the house, in a house that's already pretty weird. If you listen to the commentary, which don't do it because it spoils future episodes, they talk about how they spent a lot of time trying to work out how all the hallways connected to each other, and they didn't quite get it. Like, the house doesn't quite make sense when you, like, really scrutinize it.
You're not really going to notice stuff like that just casually watching the show, so it kind of works in that respect.
The rest of the house has some weird details that I just noticed too. In the kitchen, their dish drying rack is like an animal's rib cage, and there's just a tank of gasoline on the floor.
Those are souvenirs that wouldn't sell. So Stan was finally like, well, I gotta put them to use somehow.
Waste not, want not.
Waste not, want not, indeed.
This house has really big light switches.
That's one detail I failed to notice.
There's like a high shelf in the kitchen above the sink that has some kind of jar of green liquid.
I guess that begs the question, what kind of liquid is in there, and why didn't it sell, and why isn't Stan putting it to use somewhere else?
Because it's pee.
I pity the person who peed out that, and I hope they went to see the doctor.
That was whoever owned the house before. They died immediately after they closed the jar. Because their piss was radioactive.
Imagine that. I would venture to assume that they're the ones also who probably either bought the carpet or created the carpet.
I can show you the world.
Shining, shimmering, static. Do we want to talk about the marvels of static electricity and how it can, in some cases, actually Freaky Friday you?
That was probably the freakiest Friday those two have ever had.
Which Freaky Friday have you seen?
I have seen the first 10 minutes of the original, and I have seen the 2003 version. I have not seen the 1995 Shelley Long version or the 2018 musical version. In my opinion, the Lindsay Lohan, Jamie Lee Curtis version is superior.
Because she's in a rock band.
Well, obviously, yes, but also because there's a reason that the mom and daughter haven't been getting along. In the original, Jodie Foster just narrates yeah, I don't know, we haven't really been getting along lately. Anyway, here's how my day's going. So Dipper and Mabel, Freaky Friday themselves, and freaky is really an understatement because they are severely traumatized.
Am I in your body?
Am I in your body? This isn't happening.
Dipper has to do girl stuff. Mabel? Dipper? Dable?
Dipple?
Mipper? Mabel Dipper. He has to be given the birds and the bees talk by Stan.
Blipper?
Blipper. For those of you listening, I just nodded my head as if I were tipping a fedora in Mary's way.
And then I killed him.
Yes, I am a ghost.
I wished out loud that you were dead, and this just proves that I should do out loud wishing more often.
If it worked for Seuss, it could work for anybody.
I love that he is not concerned at first when they switch. He is just so happy.
In that moment, it's marvelous to experience what it's like to be an animal that you don't necessarily relate to because they're part of one genus and you're part of another.
I love the little background friendship that kind of forms between Seuss and Waddles in this episode, how at the end Seuss is just kind of petting him and Waddles is looks very content. He's like,
Well, that's because he's being scratched at that place he can't reach.
Yeah.
Because he's a pig.
His new friend is like, hey, I understand you now. Let me get that spot you can't reach. I love that Dipper isn't totally sure if girl mood swings are, like, a real thing. He knows the stereotypes, but he doesn't know, like, which ones are true and which ones aren't. It's like this joke on Modern Family where all three women in the one family unit, their periods sync up, and the dad is like, I'd heard it was possible, but I thought it was just a myth made up to keep women out of the submarine corps.
Oh my goodness.
I'm at the point where they just completely give up on making anything look like a documentary. They'll have the characters talking to the camera, but then they'll have like a scene where two characters are getting ready to have sex, and I'm just like, a doc crew wouldn't be in there. They would not be filming this.
Speaking of, I want to use this to segue to my one issue with the plot of this episode. Why did nobody recognize the voice change when Dipper and Mabel switched? Because if they did, then the entire premise would just fall apart. Are they that dumb, or could the creators just not be bothered?
I think that's really just shorthand so the audience knows who's who. I don't think in-universe people are hearing those voices come out of the wrong bodies.
I don't know. I took such issue with this that I feel like that's stretching it a little bit.
I don't think it's stretching it. I think it's just, that's a very common shorthand that cartoons use when they do a body swap episode, is the voices will be swapped as well, even though that doesn't technically make sense. That wouldn't happen if you somehow switched consciousness with someone. They do the same thing on Futurama. That's just for the audience's benefit. It's just so you can keep straight who's who.
I still found it kind of weird that it happened that way.
Hey Jay, when will you learn that I'm always right about everything?
I don't know. It's a mystery that we just can't unpack today.
And now, a sneak peek of Freaky Friday for Fun and Profit, the newest how-to guide for virtually every scenario that could result from a Freaky Friday-esque event.
Switched with your mom? Baffled on how to break the news to your dad? Don't be. Seriously, don't. Don't tell the other parent anything. Just avoid them as much as possible. There is no good outcome from telling them the truth or from trying to go on like normal while switched. If the parent you switched with is about to remarry, postpone the wedding until you learn your heartwarming lesson in empathy and switch back. Fake a midlife crisis, or COVID-19, or a cancer scare, whatever it takes. Do not marry your stepdad. Stuck going to your child's school? Don't go. Just don't go. Any disciplinary action resulting from an unexcused absence can be easily dealt with once you've un-Freaky Friday'd. The repercussions of you becoming your child and going to school for them are enormous and will follow them for the rest of their life, and the confusion of inhabiting a hormone-ridden teenage body will follow you. It is imperative that you mitigate any outside interactions. You may be asking how you're both supposed to learn a lesson about walking in the other's shoes if you don't actually try to live their life, but it's not worth the existential horror. Sit down and talk to each other. For God's sake, do not go to school or work or get married while Freaky Friday'd with your relative. I must also stress that if you have switched bodies with someone outside of your family, or this happens to you on a day other than Friday, all of those rules are out the window. The steps to navigating and reversing a wacky Wednesday or a scary Saturday are entirely different and must be followed to the letter. But if you've ever awoken on a Friday morning to find yourself switched with an immediate or emotionally close extended family member, well, I'm sorry, first off. But, more importantly, this is the book for you.
Find Freaky Fridaying for Fun and Profit at your nearest occult bookstore today. But only if today is Friday. And don't get the Spirit Summoning book from Life Size, okay? That one won't help you. And remember, we at Into the Falls are not responsible for you falling for this dumb parody ad.
I love that Stan and Wendy aren't like that phased by Seuss acting like a pig. Like, they're creeped out, but they don't really question it that much. They're just like, oh, that was weird. I'm leaving now.
I feel like Wendy was the most noticeably disturbed, I feel like.
I think Wendy knew that it was something supernatural because she's encountered supernatural stuff at this point, but she didn't really want to stick around and find out what it was.
It was like, nope, I'm not getting paid for this. I don't have to be a part. Bye.
It's my day off. Good luck with this.
How do you think the rug got there?
I think the previous owner of the house found it at a yard sale, and it was the 70s or 80s, so they thought it looked great. And then they put it in the room, and they just never noticed the tag that said it was some kind of experiment.
That makes a lot of sense. For the 70s or 80s, yeah, shag carpeting was the thing. Who's really gonna look into what the spiral on there is for? Because watching this show and seeing all the stuff that's happened so far, I looked at it and I was like, okay, yeah, that carpet's got something funny up. But then you look at it and it's like, if you don't know, you're just like, oh, that's an interesting design on that shag rug.
That's an ugly-ass carpet.
Shrug.
Waddles is like a cat. He just found this little sunny spot on the floor, and that's where he's doing his thing. I love the animation of Waddles and Seuss's body on the checkout counter in the gift shop, and then he just like slides forward and off and onto the floor. And then seeing the outside world and being so enamored with it that he just has to run, and this poor woman falls in love with him, not knowing that he's actually a pig.
Yeah, we don't know what happened between the woman following him and then them coming back, and she's like, oh, yes, I'll marry you.
Yeah, I kind of don't want to know, but I also do want to know how she got the idea that he had proposed to her. But this poor woman, like, falls in love and then has her heart broken all within, like, a day, and it's not Seuss's fault because he didn't know what was happening, but this poor woman went through so much.
Do you think that was Seuss's first kiss moment? Mabel had hers last episode. Did Seuss have his this episode?
I don't know. I think it's possible he has kissed someone before because he's kind of blasé about it. Doesn't seem that excited about it, but it could just be that that's not a super important thing to him. It doesn't seem like he's used to it.
It's definitely a rare occurrence for him. With all the stuff he has going on at the Mystery Shack, I'm sure.
One thing I really appreciate about this episode is in that first scene after Dipper and Mabel switch bodies, you can tell by just like the way they're animated and like these little details on their faces that they have become each other effectively. They do the same thing with Seuss and Waddles, and then they do the same thing with the whole group switching at the end.
That was so crazy at the end. Everybody was essentially Freaky Fridaying themselves. I would say that was almost on par with the big clone fight at the end of, was it Double Dipper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one where he doubles. That was like a whole week's worth of Freaky Fridaying. Maybe a month's worth.
Definitely.
Definitely at least one Freaky Freakend, which of course is the Disney Channel event that this aired as a part of, including an episode of Dog with a Blog that I covered on Mystery Shack Look Back on their Dog with a Pod special. And we will someday do another episode of Dog with a Blog on this podcast with Charlie and Ella and possibly Shelby, because Shelby joined as a curator in the time between recording that episode and us recording this one.
Was there any real special occasion, I guess, to them basing an entire weekend of programming on the Freaky Friday concept? Was it like an anniversary of the movie or something, and they were
They never like had really a reason to do this other than they want to promote all these shows. One time they did a thing where all the shows involved a character wishing on a shooting star, and that was like the theme for each show that aired that weekend.
It's interesting when it feels like there isn't really any rhyme or reason about it, but I guess it does kind of help you place this episode in a specific moment in time.
When girls wore pajama shirts that had pictures of bears on them, and the top of it just said bear in all caps. I love Grenda's delivery of just every line she has in this episode. I love they're playing the board game and the fake phone rings and she goes, "It's him! It's my dream date!"
Hell, I'm just glad to see the girls are back.
When she switches into Mabel's body, she's just fascinated by the hands.
I have tiny little doll hands!
I have tiny little doll hands! And then she and Candy are just so excited to be cops.
Let's go bust some people.
Let's go abuse and power. There are like 5 bird's nests in the attic. That's another visual detail I noticed. There are bird's nests all over the Mystery Shack.
I wonder if Stan charges them rent.
I wonder if they just work for free.
The birds?
Yeah.
Okay, well, what role would they have at the Mystery Shack? To provide ambience?
Yeah. Something I love about McGucket's role in this episode is that he doesn't seem to care about the social stigma around the act of cannibalism. His first thought when he sees the pig is like, oh, I'm gonna have bacon. When he learns the pig is sentient, he does not care.
No, don't eat me. I'm a man trapped in a pig's body.
That's what they all say.
When Seuss returns to his human body, he still does not care. He's like, I'll still eat you. And they don't really care either. They just kind of push him out. They don't raise any concern
I love
about
that.
it.
Yeah, they're like, all right, move it along, old man.
Oh, no, I changed back. At least I think I did.
I'll still eat you.
Okay, pal, that's enough of that. Move it along.
Weird old man.
Which implies that McGucket has done crazier, or he's just like this every single time they see him. So
I think everybody's just used to it by now. They're like, yeah, he's just like this. He's mostly harmless, so we just kind of let him do whatever. It's so transparent that there wasn't a real reason for the cops to show up while everybody's switching, because they just kind of show up after 10 seconds, and they're like, we received reports of excessive giggling.
We've got some reports of excessive giggling. My horoscope didn't say anything about this.
What's happening to me? Ow!
How did they get in and then now they're part of it? It feels like they just wanted the cops to be part of this big body swap and they didn't really feel like going out of their way to justify it, but that just makes it even funnier.
do we want to talk about Baby Fight?
Fight! 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 Fight!
Baby fights!
I would love to talk about Baby Fight.
I just have to wonder, we see the babies in an octagon, but is this like for real fighting like UFC, or is this program kind of more like WWE?
I think it's like America's Funniest Home Videos, where they just kind of film whatever the babies are gonna do and then they add context over it that's completely made up and not actually what's happening.
That would make a lot more sense and raise a lot less ire from concerned parents.
Oh, these babies don't have concerned parents. They either don't have parents or the parents don't care about them.
And the babies aren't here to make friends.
They don't understand the concept of friendship because they're babies.
But then that obviously means that they are going to be friends, because that's what happens in every reality show.
Do you have any thoughts about the Wolf Man Bear Chest series? Because I think you would love it.
My name is Gerard. I am a werewolf, creature of the night, but I am also a creature of passion.
Gerard is just so fierce.
You would love those books.
It's because I'm a furry, isn't it?
Yes. Why else would I have brought that up?
It depends on if the writing is...
If you find Gerard to be a likable, interesting protagonist.
I suppose. And also, it's got to be a quality book, because I know of fan fictions that are much better written than some published erotica. So it's like, did the author do a good job? Are there coherent characters? Is there a gripping story to follow?
You won't read just any furry romance novel.
It's got to be up to my standards. So maybe I'll check it out from the local library one of these days, and then decide whether or not it's worth my time.
So the ending of the episode where Dipper decides to move back in, Alex Hirsch made it very clear on the commentary that this was based on a real conflict he had with his sister when they were kids, and it did not end that way. He moved into the laundry room. They moved the washer and dryer out of their laundry room. He put a mattress in there and used the fold-out ironing board as a desk.
I marveled at just how intense that conflict was, because both of them were going excessively hard to try and get the new room.
When Dipper said, like, maybe we shouldn't share a room, I think Mabel's feelings were hurt. And so they were both just kind of like, all right, fine, if you don't want me around, then I don't want you around. But it begs the question, why didn't Dipper just go sleep in the living room while she was having her sleepover?
Maybe Stan was already in the living room?
I don't know. Stan's an old man. I think he goes to bed earlier.
Also, do you think Seuss has grounds to sue based on the break room that Stan provides for him?
Seuss has grounds to sue for so many reasons. He will never do it because he's just not that kind of person. And that's not to say that people who sue for very fair reasons are like bad people or they're like taking advantage of employers or whatever. Seuss just does not have an inkling in his mind of pursuing legal recourse for anything because he is that loyal, which is to a fault.
Yes.
Hey, maybe you should kind of stick up for himself, which he does indirectly because he manages to get a raise by having a pig in his body. Stan has violated many, many labor laws and many, many regular laws.
He seems to be doing all right for himself, though.
Well, it's like with McGucket, like people are just so used to it that they don't think to do anything about it.
That moment when they're finally like, oh, I've gotten so used to this that I haven't realized what I really got until it was gone. It's a little bit of a heartbreaking moment.
Yeah.
It's like, I wanted this, but I didn't want this.
This is another area where Dipper and Mabel become a departure from Alex Hirsch's like real childhood and his real relationship with his sister, because that's what they were based on. But Alex Hirsch talks about in a lot of the commentaries having to come to terms with these characters are no longer me and my real life sister. They are their own people. Stan catches Mabel and Dipper's body staring into the attic, and he says, "Oh, you're at that creepy age where you spy on girls." Put yourself in Stan's shoes. You see your nephew staring into the sleepover that his sister is having with her friends, and like you probably assume that like, oh, he's just staring at the friends, but like his sister's in there. I'd be concerned. I'd be like, hey, it's bad enough that you're watching girls. Don't watch girls that are hanging out with your sister currently in that room as we speak. You're gonna see something you don't like.
Which is most likely bad werewolf fiction.
Yeah. Gerard is just so fierce. One of my favorite things about this episode is the fact that Stan, for no logical reason, takes it upon himself to give Dipper the talk.
It all begins with this little fella, the pituitary gland. He may be little, but he has big plans.
Like, no, they have parents. You can, like, consult with the parents. Be like, it seems like he might have questions. Is it okay if I talk to him about this? Just like, nope, you have the book. It's ready to go.
That begs the question, how long has he had that book? Who has he given this talk to before using that book? And I guess how outdated is the knowledge in that book now?
I don't think he's ever given anyone the talk. I think he was very excited to play that role as a caretaker, because that's the fun part, is horrifying the children.
Correct.
I think he's had that book since his grunkle gave him the talk at a very inappropriate time with probably not very accurate information.
That book probably doesn't even say anything about gay people.
Probably not. Just cuts to him closing the book and saying, and now you know where babies come from. So I'd like to think that Stan doesn't know where babies come from. And by extension, neither does Mabel at this point, because she's been given entirely incorrect information. And then the man and the woman hug each other on the bed. And then the man goes and takes a pee, and he collects some of the pee and pours it on the woman's butt. And then they wash it off, because that's not sanitary. And then they have a baby.
Poof, they have a baby.
Now all of our listeners know where babies come from. Who do you think stole the capers?
I don't know. Clearly Dipper was enamored to find that out, so much so that he was stimming with his pen. But I don't know who stole the capers. Maybe the capers were never stolen in the first place.
You're wrong, I stole them. But the real capers were the friends we made along the way. No, you know what? I have one more thing to say. What happened to the room that the wax museum was in, and why can't one of them just move in there?
I feel like that's now a wax statue cemetery, and they feel it would be disrespectful. It's hallowed ground, and they don't want to desecrate it like that by living in the midst. Plus, those wax statues probably curse the area around it anyway, so they're like, okay, we're boarding that up. No one allowed anymore.
Or was that the same room that they had that party in Double Dipper? Is that the same room? I don't remember.
You know, that room was a big open room. I mean, they couldn't just repurpose the living room.
That couldn't be the same room, could it? The wax museum was like closed off.
But then the episode with the party takes place after that. Maybe once all the carnage was cleaned up, he was like, well, I gotta use this room for something.
But that room was like huge, and the wax museum room was smaller. So my point still stands. Why didn't one of them just convert the wax museum room into a bedroom? That's another mystery, I guess.
I'm sticking with the hallowed ground bit.
It's hallowed.
Hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed. Hallow. Halloween. Hallow's Eve.
Halloween.
I can see your hallow. I can feel your hallow. Hallow.
Just like Beyonce.
Just like Beyonce. I have 17 unread text messages, and I don't know why.
Better get to them. What's the next episode?
The next episode, you're gonna love this one, is Boys Crazy. Boys with a Z. That part's important.
Ooh.
Speaking of episodes, what was the code in this one? 2, 21, 20, 23, 8, 15, 19, 20, 15, 12, 5, 28, 5, 3, 1, 16, 5, 18, 19?
I imagine just all the numbers just shooting by your face as you read them aloud.
Translates to, but who stole the capers? Which is still a mystery that has gone unsolved.
There's always next time.
This has been Into the Falls. You can find me at Mabel Page Pines on Twitter and Instagram. That's Mabel, P-A-G-E Pines. I'm also May Page on YouTube and Film Knife on Medium and WordPress. That's where I post my film reviews and essays, editorials, etc. You can follow the show on Twitter at The Falls Cast, all one word, and Into the Falls Podcast on YouTube. And I will hand it off to AJ.
This podcast is hosted and produced by Mary McKeon and AJ Sanchez, and our theme song and some of the music is by Kevin MacLeod. Oh, and follow me on Instagram. And I make YouTube videos sometimes. Unca AJ. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, trust no one!
I physically cannot sleep if I hear someone snoring, even if it's me. You know how I know that?
How do you know that, Mary?
Because I usually don't snore, but when I do, the second the noise comes out of my face, I wake up.
How exactly do you even know that you snored?
I wake up like as I'm making the noise.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
It happens pretty rarely. That's how I know that it's not a matter of like, oh, it's just a pet peeve. It's like, no, my body physically will not fall asleep.